afternoon. It's great to be with you today. My name is McLarty. I'm the Executive Director of Groundwork. We are a work stream of the Northwest Arkansas Council that focuses on workforce housing in our region. It's a little intimidating for me to be the real estate and housing guy in a room with tech professionals. I'm definitely swimming in waters I've never swam in before, so appreciate your grace and understanding today as I try to thread this needle between housing and the tech community. We're a regionally focused housing organization whose work focuses on catalyzing housing development throughout the region with an intentional focus on bringing housing optionality back to those in our workforce who can no longer find a place to call home in many areas of our region. Teachers, firefighters, care providers, restaurant staff, and even junior developers and other tech professionals are moving to the outer extremities of our region just to find a place to call home because of nothing more than the lack of stable housing in our city. And it's our intent at Groundwork to bring some housing options back to the market for them. But we need your help. The residential development industry in our country needs a serious disruption. We need your minds. We need your commitment. We need your new ideas and perspectives. Of all the major industries in the United States, why is it that housing has yet to be significantly disrupted? Why are homes still being constructed with many of the same materials and methods that were used to construct the homes our grandparents grew up in? Of course, there have been advancements on the margins. Our building trades are safer today than ever. The tools that are used today are slightly more advanced. Think of a nail gun versus a hammer and a nail. But the approach to building homes is still largely done with concrete foundations, wood frames, and shingled roofs, just like they were nearly 100 years ago. None of these advancements are bringing efficiencies to scale in a way that's going to impact the market in a meaningful way that will impact the price of homes. Homes today have never been more expensive to build. Materials, labor, land, and time to get a project approved are all at all-time highs. And each of these variables makes the final product that much more expensive and out of reach for the eventual homeowners or renter. Housing needs a disruption that's going to bring the price of a home back where a moderate two-income household working full-time can afford to live without picking up an extra shift, without relying on public support, and without significant quality of life concessions that come with living a great distance from their place of employment and activities. Some data to support this. Labor productivity of the construction industry, despite aggregate productivity for the U.S. economy having doubled over the past 50 years, the country's construction sector has diverged considerably, trending downward throughout that period. And this is no slight decrease. Data suggests that the value added per worker in the construction sector was about 40% lower in 2020 than in 1970. Using U.S. Department of Labor statistics, our construction productivity is the same today as it was in 1990, yielding the same production while our building trades persons are working nearly 30% more hours. How is this possible? How has the $2.1 trillion American construction industry not gotten significantly more productive over the last 33 years in a similar way that nearly every other sector of our economy has? And this is where the housing sector really needs Techs help. I've shared a little bit about the building challenges of the housing industry. Sorry. But to solve the problem, you'd probably like to know a little more about that problem. Let's use what's happening right here in Northwest Arkansas as a microcosm and example of the housing attainability problem that most of our country is facing. Many that we rely on every day for our everyday lives cannot afford to live in the same town as us. The median price of a home in Northwest Arkansas has risen over 75% the last 3 years. Recent Skyline report data shows that the outskirts of our region are the affordable enclaves. And when you compare the prices on the left of this chart, to the income it takes to qualify on the right, you quickly start to see why our workforce is making the choices and housing decisions they are. Pressure on our potential home buyers really started in 2020, and it hasn't eased since. It's my hope that we're seeing with this most recent data a slight plateau in the prices, but given our population projections, our population growth projections, I don't see prices coming down in a meaningful way anytime soon. I mentioned growth. We've been discovered here in Northwest Arkansas. We've all read the headlines. Not only are our current residents experiencing housing attainability challenges, but the growth projections of the region are and will only continue to amplify this problem. As a region, we must think about the 400,000 new residents that are going to move to this region over the next 21 years. Looking at a 2045 population estimate in the bottom left of this slide, we must build to that demand now. We must create communities that allow for this growth while still maintaining the charm and livability that make Northwest Arkansas special. If the only option for housing those 400,000 new residents are sprawling neighborhoods, we have truly lost what makes Northwest Arkansas special. If this is the only housing option for those who are not the top 1% earners in our region, will those next 400,000 even come to Northwest Arkansas and make it their home? Will they not re-examine their current job, their current home, their current budget, and maybe just decide to stay where they are? That's the risk of not acting on this now. So what is being done? I admitted in the beginning, I am not a tech professional. I'm a real estate guy. We are making some strides that I hope will impact this in a meaningful way. My team and I have distilled our solutions down to 6 areas of focus, mostly as it pertains to the role our municipalities play in helping with the regulatory environment that our developers are working in. The first is density. We must get comfortable living closer to each other. We need to deploy new development patterns that include duplexes, triplexes, quads, and small apartment buildings in areas that have traditionally been zoned for other uses. 2, 3, and 4 are all packaged kind of together and are along similar lines. We need to incentivize developers to build something different. Our cities need to allow a developer to build a bigger project if they commit to affordability restrictions associated with that development. We need to incentivize them to build on existing infrastructure, including water and sewage infrastructure, so we're not further expanding those systems further and further away from our central core. We need to think of ways to streamline development. This goes to the previous point, but the development process must remain efficient and become even more efficient to keep up with our population growth. Duplicative review and opportunity for unpredictable public input is increasingly making the development process slow and unpredictable, and we must not allow municipal review to limit housing production. Number 4, the best use of our land. I think this is a key to our success. Our cities need to think about the next use of our land. Much of the development that surrounds our downtowns and many of our major thoroughfares are nearing the end of their useful life. We must be intentional with what replaces these structures, and we must have the understanding that what's built today is going to dictate how we live 50 years from now. The land along our major roads, near employment centers, and amenities must support more housing over the next 50 years. We need to think about our growth from a regional perspective. We need to start acting like a large collective region, not a collection of towns. Infrastructure, roads, growth, housing, commercial real estate, all these activities need to start being coordinated within the region in a way that they are not currently. Finally, funding. We need funding commitments from the business and government communities that will be directly allocated to housing. Direct investment in housing will ensure some level of affordability in the projects that are going to be built in the near term is included. Without direct intervention and without a regulatory environment that is conducive to significantly more development, there will not be a unit of attainable housing built by the market. Here's an example of just some of the active conversations that my organization is leading with our municipalities and best practices that we're socializing with them. So tech is not completely out of the solution at the moment here in Northwest Arkansas as it pertains to housing. I'd love to share just one example of a role that tech is playing. Those of you that are local may have read about a 3D printed concrete demonstration that we are working on. Our goals with this demonstration are to prove this development approach as viable and include on this journey our municipal leaders, political leaders, planning departments, inspection departments, fire departments, our banking and finance community, and of course our development community. It's our hope that this demonstration will encourage developers to look at a new approach and that as they do, they will be met at the cities in Northwest Arkansas with a welcoming approval process and inspection review. This particular project is in Rogers, about a half-mile southeast of downtown, and at completion will be 5 duplexes. The design and 2-story approach will bring some individuality to each unit. Greeley, Colorado-based Alquist 3D is our 3D printing partner on this project. Marlin Blackwell and Associates in Fayetteville is providing the architecture, and Ecological Design Group in Rogers are doing the site work and landscaping. The city of Rogers has also been a great partner. The land that this is being built on is currently city-owned land. We are working through that process to get that land conveyed over, but they understand the educational component of this and have been great partners in this. We're excited to be working on this project and encourage you to look for more from us about this in the months to come. We should have this under construction in the spring. Let's see if this will work. Here's the 3D printer at work, and you'll quickly notice the design flexibilities that come with this approach. 3D printing offer building efficiencies through the speed of construction. It's meaningful enough to really start to bring some affordability to the final project. 3D printed buildings are significantly more energy efficient than traditionally built homes, so the energy burden on the resident is often reduced. They stay cooler in the summer, they stay warmer in the winter, and they have a tighter building envelope that prevents drafts and leakage of conditioned air. If you're interested in other solutions, I think these listed here have legitimacy to creating more housing faster and cheaper. Please, I'd encourage you to do a little more research and study on these. We're exploring all of these possibilities here in Northwest Arkansas. One commonality among these approaches is that most of them are built in a factory setting, then trucked to the development site. This prevents the construction from being hindered by weather or seasons. It also allows for them to be built faster and more efficiently. This approach also creates a safer environment for the workers. And through a factory-built approach, it's estimated that 60% of the on-site work team can be brought to that factory for development. So with this Tech Summit, I reiterate my original ask. Please get involved in this space. Please disrupt real estate. Please disrupt housing. Your creativity, your perspective could be revolutionary to Northwest Arkansas, the country, and have an incredible impact on those in your community. I will make a shameless plug, and if you're interested in learning more, please sign up for our bi-monthly newsletter. I think we do a really good job with this, highlighting best practices, innovation, and lastly, if you're interested in directly connecting with me, I'd certainly welcome that as well. With that, thank you for your time. Have a great remainder of the summit.